If you've done the healing, the journaling, the meditations, and your life still isn't moving forward, then this episode of the Empowered Healers podcast is for you. There is something deeper happening, and today we're going to talk about it. So, the first point we're going to dive into is if you heal, everything will flow. I hear this all the time. I healed that. I'm done with that. I can't believe this is showing up again. If you've ever said that, then you know what I'm talking about. And what's actually happening beneath the surface? Ancestral patterns may still be active, spiritual entanglements, cords, misalignment with true path, maybe even energetic depletion, leaks, and not seeing the full picture. You're not stuck because you're not trying hard enough. You're stuck because you're working on the wrong layer. And in healing, there are many, many layers to what you're experiencing. And when you come to the core of it, it's about control versus flow and understanding what your signature suffering is. Some people call this your signature karma, pattern of suffering, the thing that makes you go, ah, when you're frustrated, when you feel like you're going in circles, when you see something happening again and again and again. And you know it because you're going around in circles. No matter what you try a new healing modality, whoop, there it is again. And you may be even putting surface band-aids on it. You go to a ceremony, you go to a workshop, you invest into something and you feel elated, you feel good, you have clarity, and then you lose it. You have opportunities that just don't land right or don't hold, or they show up and then they disappear. You feel heavy when you're making decisions, and you know you're meant for more. And this is the difference between surface level healing and real healing. Because on this journey of life, you will always encounter challenges. You will encounter moments of uncomfortability. You will encounter moments that you are wanting to cringe, hide under the covers. But the difference is, are you willing to show up? Are you willing to go into the shadow, into the pain, into the crossroads, and emerge 100% different? And that's not an overnight process. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder, but it comes from seeing what you cannot currently see. And this is why we go into ceremony. This is why you seek spiritual guidance. This is real energetic clearing. Because when you really clear and you really move, not just from your spirit, but from your soul, then you know your path and you move forward in your path and you understand that your path, it bends, it curves, it moves, and you're willing to bend with that curve. And you know, real healing is when you go into those places and spaces that no one in your family has ever been. The place where no one dared to go. And for some of you, it might be material success, your career, your position in life. It may be moving through poverty consciousness to get to wealth consciousness. For others, it's actually the opposite. It's moving away from material and into spiritual because maybe your family was too material. Maybe you had the riches, the success was already there, but it was the spiritual realms that got neglected, that got forgotten. So some people's path is to move the lineage into the spiritual, and some it's more material. Because if you're on either of those paths, those could be roads that are healing, that are activating, that are challenging, that are areas where your ancestors got stuck because of the pattern of suffering that you're dealing with. And those patterns could be doubt, confusion, mistrust, persecution, misalignment, lack, struggle, fear, fear of not having enough. And then when you have enough, fear of holding your wealth, that it could be gone. But when you're really healed, you could be okay in either of those directions. You could be okay with having too much, and you could be okay with having not enough. Because when you're wealthy on the inside, it's not about your bank account. It's about your inner state of peace, happiness, love, service, gratitude, and your ability to move and operate in those places and spaces that are comfortable and uncomfortable. And that's the difference. That's the path. I often get questions like, how do I know I'm on the right path? And when you're asking a question like that, it means that you feel like you're on the wrong path. Because if you truly know you're on your path, you just walk it. You don't even dare ask that question because it feels right. You feel aligned. You feel on purpose. You feel good. Even if you were going through bankruptcy, divorce, heartache, stress, unemployment, you would still understand that that's part of the path. Just like when you're going through marriage, birth, elation, promotion, it's the same frequency. Just one is more positive and one is more negative. And that's life, the yin and yang. But when we start to ask those questions, it opens us up to looking at those darker aspects, the shadow aspects, the unhappy aspects that can bring us into happiness. I always tell people this work actually matters more when you're in the positive. Because when you're in the positive and you keep your spiritual practice, you keep doing candle blessings, you keep, going forward, it helps you more when life goes negative because inevitably something will happen. Inevitably. That's life. Life is a mountain. It's inevitably going to get up and down. That's just how it goes. But you just keep climbing because eventually you're going to get to that top. And when you get to the top, you're going to see everything, the whole mountain, the whole city view, the whole entire world opens up to you because you have went through the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the everything. And everybody has a different struggle. Some people, love is the struggle, relationships are the struggle. Some people, money is the struggle. Some people, health is the struggle. Sometimes it's all of them. sometimes you just get the big slap in the face from the universe and it's saying, hey, let's go into this journey, huh? And you move, you go, you keep climbing, you keep understanding yourself, you keep healing, you keep moving into those directions. But when we say, I feel stuck, that's not what most people think it is. When you feel stuck, another way to say that is I feel empty. I feel unfulfilled. I feel like nothing is working out. And sometimes it's because you're pushing too hard in the wrong directions. You've put your priorities somewhere that they don't belong. Most of the time, it's an imbalance between material and spiritual. And as I open today's episode with, you may feel like you're either one or the other. You have too much material and not enough spiritual, or too much spiritual and not enough material. One of those two is out of balance. And in these times of transition and change, those imbalances are blazingly clear. It's blazingly clear. And especially here in the West, what we're experiencing is a return to what really matters, a return to who are we? Who are we as individuals, but also a society? And what's really going to shine in this era is how much you give to your community. How much do you give to the earth? How much do you give to the people? How much do you give of yourself and helping others? Because we're going to have to rely on each other. I think people really misunderstand that real wealth is community. Real wealth is when you are at your darkest moment and you have a community that will help you see the light. Darkness reveals itself when the light shines upon it. And when you're in a very dark space and you have nobody, that's the real sadness. That's the real heartache. I sit with a lot of people and they say, I'm lonely. I'm lonely. And that's darkness. That's sadness. That's isolation. And that's trauma. Because there's a reason. There's a reason that you're lonely. And that reason is not what you think it is. And as we move forward into this era, into this healing, into this space of why isn't anything working? It's because we have to go through those stages of loneliness. We have to go through those stages of isolation, of rejection, abandonment. We have to go deeper into them. And you'll never understand them from the logical mind. You can only understand them from the spiritual mind, from the heart, and go deeper in. And understand what that pattern of suffering is. And once you understand what that pattern of suffering is, what ends up happening is the light can shine in. Because if you understand that the reason that you're lonely is because you isolate yourself from people, you don't seek help, you don't tell other people your burdens, you're not truly opening your heart. This is different than complaining, though. I think a lot of people understand complaining, but what we're talking about is real honesty, real vulnerability, real courage. Because it takes a lot of courage to really open up heart to heart and to have someone to open up heart to heart with. How many relationships really truly stand in the light of honesty. Communication is one of the biggest problems in relationships. And when you don't have anybody to really share and open up with, then that is lonely. And then the bigger question is, well, if I don't have anybody to really open up with, what is the path forward? How can I really see what's in my heart so that I can open up and heal this pattern of suffering? And that's what I do in my spiritual work. When you come and you sit with me, that's what it is. We're going to look and see what's in your heart. I had a woman the other day ask me, is this a general reading? Like general to everybody? I said, no, it's not generic like that. It's specific. It's the spiritual world. It's something deeper than what the superficial world will ever give you. And it's honest. It's true. It's clear. We move into a space beyond time and space where beauty comes through. The good, the bad, the right, the wrong, everything comes through. And we look at it and we sit with it. We acknowledge it, but we see the clarity of what it is and give steps forward. That's what the spirit world will give you. It will give you the medicine you need to move forward out of suffering and into the light so that you can see the way forward. But it's only you that can make the decisions necessary to go forward. So some people will come to a reading and immediately apply it, and boom, life changing. Other people will not. And I'll hear things like, I took the advice you gave me, and this is what I produced. For example, I once sat with a monk in Japan, and he came to me, and I told him, you're going to write a book. And he says, I know I want to write a book, but I don't know what I want to write about. What could I write about? And I said, a book about happiness, a book that you talk about Buddhism and happiness and you give it out to people, and it's life-changing. So many people are miserable. And that was from the spirit world. The next time I went to Japan and I met with him again, he had his book. And he was so happy because he was stuck. He knew he wanted to write a book, but he didn't know what. And once he had a direction, it poured out of him. Once he had the confidence, it poured out of him. And then he had the support of his monastery who produced the book, and they could distribute the book for free. And that's the beauty of spirit. The spirit world gave him a direction. He took it, and it helped many, many people. On the other hand, I have sat with people and I have given them similar or same type of advice where it could change their life, and they knew it. And maybe 10 years later, they'll contact me and say, you gave me a really powerful message. I've kept it in my mind, but I haven't done it. And then I'll ask, well, where are you now? Oh, I'm exactly in the same spot. So the thing is that the spirit world is constantly giving us life-changing, life-altering, life advice, nudges all day long. People say, I'm looking for a sign. It's like the spirit world is constantly banging you on the head with signs. But can you see them? Can you recognize them? And even more powerfully, can you take initiative? Can you take steps? Can you take action? And once taken action, can you be okay with the results? Because sometimes people will get a guidance like, okay, start making videos, start promoting your business, start doing your blog, start advertising in this certain way. And they do it once or twice and they give up. And they say, well, why didn't I go viral? Why didn't it work? Why am I not getting all the clients I thought I would get? And it's because you did it once or twice. It takes 10,000 steps to get to the mountaintop. It takes hours and hours and hours of work, practice. Anybody who has played an instrument knows that. I grew up playing classical music, and there would be times that I would have to play something 1,000 times, just like 2 bars, to get it right. Sitting at the piano for hours and hours and hours to get one section right. And when you can do that, when you actually get it right, it doesn't matter who knows it or who sees it or, what the fame of it is. There's an internal happiness, an internal valid, valuable happiness because you spent thousands of hours perfecting something. And when you get it, it sounds right, it feels right, you're gliding, you're in another world because you have mastered something that was so hard. When you first saw it, when it first appeared, it was not something you knew how to do. It was something that you mastered. It was something that seemed impossible that became possible. And that's healing. It's doing the thing that your ancestors never could do. Doing the thing that people always told you, you'll never succeed at that. You'll never be good at that. You can't do that. And when you finally do it, there's no higher high. You can't get that high from drugs and alcohol or any other thing that you can be addicted to because it's a genuine happiness that comes from dedication, discipline, hard work, effort, and healing because you had to heal those voices, those obstacles. You had to heal that. You may have been rejected 100 times, 1,000 times. You may have abandoned it. You may have been on your last dollar. But when you make the impossible possible, that's healing. And then you never will say, I thought I healed that. I thought I was over that. Instead, you will say, wow, I can't believe it. It's amazing. This was my dream. This was my hope. This was what those before me couldn't do. That's healing. And if you're really ready to go deep, to accomplish the impossible, to step into your highest frequency, to stop guessing, to get honest and move forward with clarity, then I invite you to reserve your private session, to book a shamanic candle blessing, to become part of this new era, to become part of the healing wave. Because in this time, this is the time of new beginnings. This is the time to move your lineage forward. Because right now, there are more creators needed than destroyers. Everything around us is being destroyed. What are you going to create? Until we meet again, many blessings. Aho.